It's a great day today because the Dead Man's Hand Redux 2-player starter set has arrived. I've been waiting for this for a few months, so I was really excited when this showed up on my doorstep. It's kind of hard to get across just how big this is, and certainly if you're familiar with the previous version, the original 2-player starter that they did, this is just completely a step above and beyond this. This to me is really a great introduction to the game, and not only to the game but just basically setting you up if you're wanting to get into any kind of Wild West styled miniatures gaming, whether that's a role-playing game, whether that's a miniatures game. This has a lot of content, and again, the box, it's a pretty massive box. Like, that's my hand. It's not as big as it, but it's pretty wide. So you can see here that the contents include 3 Dead Man's Hand Main Street buildings, a set of boardwalks, street scatter, 10 male gunfighters, 5 female gunfighters, rulebook, card deck, markers, and dice. This version that I got was the one that included the female gunfighters, because I already have a whole bunch of male gunfighters. I don't need that many. You can kind of get a handle on everything that's included here. And actually, that's not everything in the box, which we'll get to in a second. But if you order this off the website, this is what you can expect to find in this. You've got the boardwalks that connect the buildings. You've got the buildings themselves, bunch of gunfighters, dice, action cards or like initiative cards, whatever. The tokens, and then kind of a range markers. And really, this is quite impressive as a starter set. I don't want to be too sort of praising of this immediately before we've actually delved into it too much, but to me, this is just such a step above what was previously offered by Great Escape Games. So anyway, enough blathering, let's get into actually unboxing it. So as you can see, this is absolutely laden with plastic. In here you have the male gunfighters, I believe. Actually, it also includes the female one, so you can see that there's... Let me pull it out. This should give you a bit of an idea of what's included on this sprue in particular. So you can see there that there's the bodies, the legs, different weapons and arms, chickens, and a real range of heads as well, which is very good to see. And as I'm looking at this a bit closer, I realize there's actually 2 sprues for the female gunfighters. So in my case, 2, 4, 5, 2, 4, 5. So I've actually got 10 female gunfighters in mine, as well as 10 male gunfighters. And the male gunfighter sprue is a little bit different, but it kind of follows the same format of heads, arms, weapons, legs, various accessories, a cow's head, dynamite, cactus, that sort of thing. And then you've got the bases that they sit upon for all of those. The next thing that we're going to look at, which I actually believe was exclusive to the Kickstarter, but you can purchase this separately, is this covered wagon. So this is pretty nice. I think you can make a wagon that's uncovered, and these are the parts that are needed, or probably most of the parts that are needed to create just the wagon. So you got the wheels and the actual box, and I don't know what all the parts of the wagon are called, but basically everything that you need there. And then if you're going for the covered wagon, you've got these canopy pieces, you got the horses, and you've even got some riders to put on there. Which is nice to see a man and a woman. And as you might expect, you also get a instruction sheet. for putting that covered wagon together. So the next thing to note is just all of these building sprues that you get. I mean, that is a lot of plastic. That's a ton of plastic. You've got the building instructions for those as well. And yeah, the remaining plastic is really just dedicated to the boardwalks, which, as well as the buildings and some of the accessories that you'll find here, the scatter terrain. So we have barrels, I think that looks like a milk jug or something, large milk jug, a stump with an axe, which is a really nice touch. I really like that. Sort of a parcel or some kind of bale of something, a chest or crate, some luggage. Those like sacks of something. So yeah, just like a real assortment of stuff, a spare wagon wheel. At the edge of the wagon wheel, you've got, I guess, 2 bottles. So yeah, this in itself is just really cool. Adds a lot of flavor, I guess, a lot of just visual interest. And then the sprues themselves for the buildings have, you know, the walls and the doors and all of that kind of stuff that you'd expect, but they actually have scatter stuff too. Birds, there's like a doggy. Yeah, well, so each of these is kind of similar, where they have a birds, dogs on them, doors. This is the roof parts. So you got the three roofs. And then you've got a whole nother bag full of building parts as well. This is nice because you have the boardwalks, saddles, buckets and barrels, some small steps. And then alongside that, you've got some of these bigger bits. I think these are either roofs or floors. And yeah, just a ton of plastic to make this stuff with. Nice tiled roofs. These are going to look amazing painted, I think. And really for me, this is the buildings were the main part that I wanted, because I really wanted enough stuff to kind of populate a small town for my role-playing games, for my miniatures war games. Just something to throw onto a table, provide a bit of visual interest, and just kind of feel convincing as a town. And this is going to do it. Even though it's just 3 buildings, if you were just starting with a starter set, I think that would give you a lot of stuff to go on. I mean, this reminds me a bit, the equivalent is kind of like the Necromunda starter set, the Hive War one. We've just got all the scatter terrain, you've got the walls and stuff, and you've got 2 factions. And to me, this is like, already you can see that this is a pretty sweet spot in terms of just getting started and getting some models on the table. The next thing we're going to look at is the card deck. So this is the card deck. This is a bit of an upgrade upon the last offering that was given in the starter set. It was much more basic. It was basically these cards just kind of loose with some rubber bands around them. So this is a nice sort of case for them. It's a little bit tight fitting, but it's quite, you know, decent quality. I like that image on the back. And yeah, just a nice way to store these cards, which are necessary for initiative and actions and stuff. Also included are the specialist faction cards for the lawmen, cowboys, desperados, and outlaws. So if you're wanting to get some additional gangs, then you could, or factions, you could do so, and you'd have the cards for it. So it's got a new illustration on it, which looks really nice, and again has that wood grain vibe down the side. So that's a definite improvement over the previous one for me. Again, I think this was Kickstarter exclusive, but you got these coins, but you got this nice eagle on it. Is that an eagle? Yeah. And then on the other side you've got a head. So very, very cool. Again, just something to add onto the table to give a bit more sense of believability or immersion, I guess. I really can't remember what they're for, but they're cool anyway. Next you get some dice. This is probably the least valuable thing to me, just simply because I've got a ton of dice already. But they're not bad. That's a bit scratched, that one. But yeah, just a basic, a bit of, actually no, that's all right. But yeah, just that first digit was scratched. But yeah, just, I don't know, just a simple black D20. And then you've got two D10s, a yellow one, a white one, and then finally another D20, a white one. So they're nice dice. They're basic, just basic kind of D10s and D20s. But I suppose if you're wanting a complete experience here, maybe you don't have those dice, then that would be, maybe that's a good thing for you to have access to. As far as being a complete starter set, I think it's good that they've included that in the box, even if it is kind of a probably most people have it type of thing. This sort of token ruler sheet is exactly like what we saw in the previous version of the Dead Man's Hand starter set. No changes here, but these are really cool. I think they were still, they're still good quality and they still add a lot. I've got twice as many now, which is nice, and it just means that it's a little bit easier to keep track of things, maybe if you were having a bigger game or something like that. So cool, you pop these out and these are sort of used to illustrate the state of the character, whether they're out of ammo or how many hits that have been scored on them and stuff like that. So quite nice to look at, quite utilitarian, cool. You also get a bookmark. I always find bookmarks quite useful. This one's particularly nice. And the very last thing is this rulebook. So it's got this nice sort of matte finish on it. And this has been completely re-laid out and maybe even partially rewritten for this version. Sorry, that's a little bit hard to see. So you get a bit of an idea around what's in here. It talks about the cards, playing the game, shooting, different rules. These are all scenarios, I think, different scenarios that you can play through or campaigns. Some campaign rules, which I don't think were in the last version. And just has a bunch of... definitely have added a lot of content to this version. And just the graphic design and artwork and just kind of the quality overall is exponentially better than the previous version. Just on many levels, a lot nicer to look at, a lot nicer of an experience to read through. This isn't actually lighting. This isn't, it's not bad lighting here. This is what it looks like. It's sort of faded out at the top there. It just talks about different needs, what you might need to play the game, the different use of cards. I really like the photography with the miniatures. It does a good job because I think in the last one there was no real incentive to buy the minis, whereas I think this is aspirational. It's like, I want my table to look like that, and inadvertently I think you're kind of wanting maybe to pick up some Great Escape Games minis because of this, and you've got that covered wagon which I showed you just before. Some nice aerial examples of play with actual models, which is great. Covers off shooting. Again, just some nicely painted minis. And yeah, really goes into kind of a lot more detail than the previous version. One thing I did appreciate about the previous version was that it was quite rules light and a lot more looser. And I'm of mixed opinion when it comes to codifying games. Like, do you want it really, really spelled out? Do you want things a little bit more left to, the players to come up with their own interpretations? So this has kind of gone in the direction of maybe let's provide a bit more detail. Potentially the last rule set was a little bit sparse. So yeah, there's definitely more rules in this version than there was in the last. So like they've positioned it as Dead Man's Hand News. It kind of reminds me of Mordheim, where it has, the newsletters and stuff to represent, kind of what's happening, tells you what's going on. But yeah, I'm really excited for this. I think this is just such a step above what was offered previously, and even if you were just collecting this for the minis, you had no interest in playing the game, I just think there's just so much good stuff in here. Just for a comparison, I want to show you the last version. So it's not a bad cover, but then just in terms of this, like this to me just looks kind of laid out a lot more in Word. There is some photography which was good, but just the interior, there's like this illustration was just constantly reused, as with these. Like every single page has that in there, and there was a kind of a narrative, or like the way that the rules were written, it had people talking, whatever. But yeah, just a lot of overused stuff, a lot less professional. Like it just felt a lot more amateur. Not bad. Like it wasn't terrible, but it just always struck me as like, oh yeah, these guys have probably made this in Word, maybe got a graphic designer to do it, or even just done it themselves. And yeah, just quite basic looking. The previous version was basically these two things, or these three things, along with the sprues for the 15 gunfighters. So you can see, like, even just visually, that there's just so much more stuff in this latest version. The cards, they're just a lot more basic in that previous version. As I said, this is unchanged, but I still think that's pretty good quality. And the rulebook is just, the upgraded rulebook is just a lot nicer, just more rules. Seems like they've taken the time to spell things out in a lot more detail. So yeah, just everything about this is, to me, is an upgrade. It's just heaving with content. Literally, it's kind of hard to get everything in because there's so much good stuff in here. For me, this is just a clear no-brainer. If you're at all interested in this game and you just need some minis, I would highly recommend it. It feels really good quality. As I said, it just feels like a real step above what was offered previously. In addition to what I've shown today, I also bought a 2-story building set and some renegades. So for me, I'm going to be really busy for a long time. This is going to take me a long time to make all of this stuff and paint it and everything. But it's not always a race. It's just about, trying to get stuff onto the table, trying to have fun with it. And if this looks like something that is up your alley, then I would say unequivocally go for it. In my opinion, this competes with a lot of the bigger brands as far as value for money. Like, this is easily on par with something that you would buy from Games Workshop. And just in terms of content, like, there's just so much here. The plastic feels nice. There's a good quality to it. The rulebook's pretty nice. Really has quite complete rules. So thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.